So for your NTI assignments, I've seen a lot of you have already been working. It's Geometry B, and it's 1.1, then 2 through 9. And honestly, I don't think any of you are going to need any help with these first couple sections. I mean, they're really, I think, really easy. Just naming the figure, name the lines, line GH. These first couple, like even this one, is this true or false? The lengths of segments on a number line, the additive property of length, you just add the two numbers together. Here it looks like you're going to have to solve for X. Midpoints, we've done all of this at the beginning of the year. You just count, find the midpoint. Congruent is equal to, so are they congruent? Are they the same length? Perpendicular bisector theorem, a bisector cuts something in half. And you probably figure that out if you've tried this. You've probably been able to figure these out without my help. But I think here when we get to B7 is one where you may need help, maybe not. B7 is asking about midpoint formula. So the midpoint formula is M equals x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Because it's a midpoint, there's an x, comma, y. So this problem from IXL here says 10, 5, and what's that say? 4, 3 is what W is. 4, comma, 3. Alright, so I label the points x1, y1, x2, y2. And I take these numbers and substitute them into the midpoint formula. So you really, look, the midpoint formula, you're adding the x's together, dividing by 2. Adding the y's together, divide by 2. You may not even have to write this down. Maybe write it down for the first couple, but you may be able to do this in your head. So my x's, it's going to be 10 plus 4 over top of 2, and 5 plus 3 over top of 2. Alright, so 10 plus 4 is 14, 5 plus 3 is 8, 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. So my answer is 7, comma 4. So I'm going to go over here and type that in, 7, comma 4. Alright, so this one's the same thing. It's got 6, 9, and 2, 7. So x1, y1, x2, y2. You add the two x's together, so it's 6 plus 2 over 2. Add the two y's together. So 6 plus 2 is 8. And what's 9 plus 7? 16. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So this one is 4, comma 8. 4, comma 8. And I'm going to skip ahead and see if they get more difficult. I'm going to jump a level. This is still just asking for midpoint. I mean, based on this, like decimals or integers. Integers are whole numbers, so it looks like some of your answers are going to be decimals, which is fine. You add and then divide. I'm going to keep jumping up and see if they get any bit more difficult. No, I mean, it's still the same thing. Find the midpoint. So it would be 51 plus 27 divided by 2. So 51 plus 27 is 78, divided by 2 is 39. And then it'll be 99 plus 8 divided by 2. And that is 53.5. So 53.5. Alright, that's how you do B7, midpoint formula. Okay, so let's go back here and look at B8. So these are just a little bit harder. We did some of these at the beginning of the year, but not that many. these tell you what the midpoint is, and you have to find the other endpoint. So this problem, it says the midpoint is 10, 4, and one of my points is 10, 2. So, and it wants to know what's the other one. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2 is what we don't know. So the formula 10 plus something divided by 2 has to equal 10, because 10 is x. So I can solve this. I mean, you might be able to do this in your head, but the real math teacher way to do this is you multiply by 2. So 10 plus x2 is equal to 20, and then subtract 10. So x2 equals 10. All right, then the y values, it's y1 plus y2 over top of 2 is going to equal 4, because that's what the y value is. Well, I know that y1 is 2, so 2 plus something over top of 2 has to equal 4. You multiply by 2, and then I'll have to subtract 2. Subtract this other 2 here. Subtract 2, so I got 6. So 10 right here, and 6. 10 comma 6 should be this answer. 10 comma 6. Okay, this one, the answer is 6, 5. That's my x and my y. x1, y1 is 3, 3. I want to know what's x2 and y2. All right, so 3 plus something over top of 2 has to equal 6. And this 3 plus something over top of 2 has to equal 5. I'm going to multiply by 2 and then subtract 3. Multiply by 2, subtract 3. Multiply by 2. So 3 plus x2 is equal to 12. Subtract 3. What is that, 9? And then multiply by 2. So 3 plus y2 is equal to 10. Subtract 3. And I got 7 for this one. So 9, 7 is this answer. 9, 7. All right, this is the same thing. It looks like, again, you might get a decimal answer. Let me jump ahead and see the next level if they get more difficult. Let's see. Well, this one just has negatives in it, but I'm going to do this one. All right, this one, the answer is 1, comma, negative 17. That's x and y. 12, negative 14 are x1, y1. And we need to know what is x2, y2. So 12 plus something divided by 2 has to equal 1. And negative 14 plus something divided by 2 has to equal negative 17. I'm going to multiply by 2, then subtract 12. Multiply by 2, then add 14 since it's negative. So multiply by 2. So 12 plus x2 is equal to 2. Subtract 12. x2 is equal to what? Negative 10. Then multiply by 2. So negative 14 plus y2 equals, let's see, what is negative 17 times 2? Negative 34, is that right? Yep. All right, I'm going to add 14. So negative 34 plus 14 is negative 20. So negative 10, negative 20 is this answer. Negative 10, negative 20. Okay, that's how you do this section. And then finally, the distance formula section is B9. B.9, it's your last one. Alright, so the distance formula is D equals the square root of x2 subtract x1 quantity squared plus y2 subtract y1 quantity squared. And in my problem here, it's 4, 1, and 8, 4. That's going to be x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to take these numbers and plug them in. So D equals the square root. Alright, x2 is 8. x1 is 4. y2 is 4. y1 is 1. I'm going to subtract. So 8 subtract 4 is 4. And 4 subtract 1 is 3. Then I'm going to square them. So 4 squared is 16. And 3 squared is 9. And what's 16 plus 9? 25. What's the square root of 25? 5. So this one, the answer is 5. Alright, let me jump ahead. The only thing that's going to be hard about this one is for you people that don't have Algebra 2 this year, this IXL is going to make you simplify the radical. If you don't know how to do that, I'm going to show you what to do. So let's do this problem. Alright, this one says -9, 3, and 1, -7. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So D equals the square root. Again, here's the original formula. So it's 1 subtract -9 squared plus -7 subtract 3 squared. 1 subtract -9 is 1 plus 9. So that's going to be 10. -7 subtract 3 is what? -10? So 10 squared is 100, but -10 squared is also 100, because remember when you type this in, the negative squared. Two negatives make a positive. So 100 plus 100 is 200. So unfortunately, on your calculator, when you type in, this is an old calculator I have, when you type in the square root, whoops, where is square root on this calculator? Here. The square root of 200, well, my calculator does that. It actually reduces the radical, but I'm going to bet yours won't. Let me show you what I bet yours will do. The square root of 200. Yours is going to give you a decimal. Alright, so since you got a decimal, what you have to do is try to simplify the radical. So you have to think of two numbers that'll multiply to give 200, and one of them has to be a perfect square. Well, I know that 100 times 2 is 200. The square root of 100 is 10, and the radical 2 is left over. So this answer is 10 radical 2. Now, here's what I want you to do. If you don't have Algebra 2 and you've never studied how to do this, if you can get this far, and you know that the square root of 200 is the answer, just Google and find a radical simplify calculator on the internet. Like, I Googled it. I typed in simplify radical calculator, and I found one as soon as I Googled it. So like here, this is one I found. It's called Calculator Soup. This is square root. So it's wanting me to change the root. The root's going to be square root. So I'm going to leave a 2 here. And it was the square root of 200. And you just press calculate and it will do it for you. We already said it's 10 radical 2. So right here I'm going to type in 10 radical 2. Like that. Let me jump up and see what the last ones look like. This is the challenge zone. You only have to go to 80, and this has took me all the way up to 90. Alright, if you need help with anything, just message me and I can still help you if you still need help.